What up, gang? These are prison stories by prison writers, and this is a story by Justin Welch in Wisconsin. I was 26 years old, a man with no fear and nothing to lose. I was being transported by a private transport company from California to Wisconsin for first-degree murder. The transport cops were from Mississippi and were not ready for this crazy-ass California white man looking for nothing to lose. I sat in the back of the van for 5 days, hands cuffed in front, and I also had leg irons. The two cops would drive day and night. One would sleep while the other one would drive. After a few days in the transport van, I learned the patterns of the two transport cops. One cop had a .40 cal and the other was unarmed. So I played it cool and acted like nothing was wrong, and I just did what I had to do to fit in, so that the cops were not worried about me. The big fat cop, when he came to pick me up at the county jail, was warned by the cops not to trust me, but he thought having a gun on him meant he was safe. At night, I was able to pull the cuffs off and dig around in the back of the van where they put the other prisoners' property. I found a cell phone and made calls at night when they couldn't see me talking in the back of the van. I also came across a tire plug. If you know what a tire plug is, then you know it's like an ice pick, but thicker metal and stronger. From that point on, I made the plan to escape from prison. No matter what, I didn't care if I died in the process. I had one other prisoner in the van that said he was down to roll with me. He was facing 40 years in the state of Mississippi. So we talked and planned it all out. On the 5th night in Arkansas, I told the transport cop that I was sick and he had to pull over at the next truck stop so I could use the restroom. The time was 2:30 a.m. and the other transport cop was asleep. The transport cop pulled into the truck stop in Arkansas and I slid the tire plug into my jumpsuit. And just like I hoped, only the fat transport cop took all 5 prisoners into the restroom. The transport cop took off my cuffs, but I still had my leg irons on. So I went into the stall and acted like I was sick. I put the tire plug in the upper part of my jumpsuit and walked out of the stall, walked to the sink and washed my hands, and then walked to the transport cop. When the transport cop reached to recuff me, I started to beat him with my fist. The other prisoner who said he was down was just watching me fight the cop. After a second, I dropped the transport cop and got on top of him and began to stab him in the neck and head. The transport cop went for his gun, so I stabbed him in his hand. He let go of the gun and I grabbed the .40 cal and racked one in the chamber, positioned the gun at the bloody transport cop laying on the floor in the truck stop restroom. Now, at this time, there is some trucker in the last stall taking a shit. So I get the cuff keys from the bloody transport cop and take off my leg irons and walk down and kick in the stall door at gunpoint and get the trucker to come out. Then I make the other prisoners put the leg irons and cuffs on the transport cop. I didn't know it at the time, but the prisoner that said he was down was running out to the transport van to get the attention of the other unarmed transport cop. He had no luck, so I didn't notice that, which was lucky for him. I ordered everybody to wait in the restroom, and I walked out to the transport van and opened the driver's side door and pistol whipped the unarmed transport cop in the head. He came to and tried to fight me, and then I just pointed the gun at him and he just ran like a fool for his life. I opened fire on him. Lucky for him, I'm not a good shot. He got away with his life. I jumped back in the van and burned rubber out of there. I jumped on the interstate and headed east for about 5 miles. I took an off-ramp and drove around a suburb and found a path off the road into a wooded area. I dumped the van and walked the area on foot looking for a house to bust into. I found a foreclosed home and kicked in the back door. I went throughout the whole house looking for clothing to change into. I was looking for clothing to change into and I came across some army clothing and I put it all on and left the house on foot. I started walking west next to 40 Highway. I came across a construction site and talked to a supervisor and he gave me a ride about 30 miles west into Oklahoma. I went to a gas station and could hear the radio talking about me. Talk about freaking out. Then I saw my face on all the newspapers. I got a soda with some of the money that I took from the inmate's property in the back of the van, and I left the gas station to hide out and think about my next move. I could have carjacked anybody because I had the handgun, but I didn't want to hurt no one. So after some hours went by, I found a trucker that said he was headed west. So I got in the rig, and for some reason, he went to Walmart parking lot so he could get Wi-Fi, he said. I had no idea at that time he knew who I was, because at the gas station, the clerk pointed at the newspaper and the trucker hadn't seen it was me. So after a few minutes on his computer, he jumped back on the highway, and not more than 10 minutes later, I noticed all kinds of red lights coming up behind us, and also cutting across the highway, with more cop cars and helicopters. At that time, I knew it was for me. They had the whole army coming, and that's no joke. Right then, the trucker locked up his brakes on the highway. We slid to a stop with smoke in the air from the tires. I reached back for my bag, for my gun, and was going to kill myself before they could take me. But the trucker knew my gun was in the bag, and he grabbed the bag and threw it out the window. He also threw the keys out the window. He then jumps out of the truck with his hands up. I stayed in the truck and was going to make them kill me. A few minutes went by and the cops came from every angle, strapped and ready to kill my ass. They had 100 guns pointed at me and yelled at me to get out of the truck. I was not moving for nothing. I was hoping they would open fire on me and end it there, but they didn't. And they opened the door and pulled me out of the truck and beat the crap out of me like no other. They were calling me a cop killer and just putting the boots to me. After that, on the way to the county jail, I see what must have been about 100 reporters. And when they walked me in, I felt like something out of the movies. It was crazy, all the media. Now comes the question about the van and how I did it and so on. They had the FBI, DEA, and local detectives in the room along with the sheriff of that county. They gave me a smoke in hopes that I would open up to them, but I had nothing to say. The sheriff tried talking to me about waiving my extradition hearing because of all the media problems they were having. I waived my extradition hearing around 3 a.m. They got me up from my cell, and the FBI and the sheriff was there along with the detectives as they put me in the cuffs and irons. They also hobbed me. That's when they run a chain from your handcuffs to your leg irons. It stops you from being able to move fast or run. I was put in an unmarked black SUV. They drove non-stop north, and after about 3 hours, they pulled into a police station. I was put in a cage, and 3 armed cops with assault weapons stood by watching. Soon after that, a white van shows up with 3 cops in it, 2 detectives, and the chief of police. I was then transferred to them and put in a straitjacket with an electric belt put on me and driven the rest of the way to Wisconsin nonstop. They didn't say much to me, and I didn't want to talk to them anyways. When I got to the county jail in Waukesha, Wisconsin, I had a good 25 cops waiting to book me into jail. I was booked and taken to a special unit all by myself for the next 2 years. This is an update from Justin. I'm changing and making better choices now. I can't fix my past, but I can change who I will be. I must change so my kids and grandkids will have something to do with me. I have 44 years to life in Wisconsin DOC. Arkansas agreed to not charge me if I got sentenced to anything over 30 years to life in Wisconsin, and I did just that. California has 25 to life on me, but I'm sure the statute of limitations has ran out their time limits by now, so I will not see that also. So I have got lucky, one could say. 3 states with life penalties for me, and I have gotten it down to just Wisconsin with 44 to life. If laws don't change like the mandatory minimums, I will most likely die in prison. But as crazy as I sound, I did it all to myself. So if I do end up dying in prison, it's all my doing. I killed people for nothing, more than money. And now that I'm older, I see why that is so sick. I understand the system now. In California, my oldest daughter was at home, and some piece of shit ran into her house with a 9mm. She fought him off, and he shot my daughter in the chest, 1 inch from her heart. She lived, and I'm truly thankful for that. But I wish I could be in California prison system right now. I would love to run into that piece of shit that shot my daughter. She was only 17 years old and almost died. I feel so bad to know if I was home, I could have stopped it. So what I'm getting at is, I don't feel for none of these sick-ass pieces of crap in here. If they did the crime, they can do the time, just like me. Prison is a place for people like me, and you will never hear me cry over being in here. Yes, prison sucks, and I wish it was better, but it is what it is. I should have never took anybody's life. Not only did it cut me deep, I don't think I will ever be able to understand what could make me do all the shit I did when I was younger. I'm mentally screwed up over my actions. The lady I killed was in Wisconsin. She was a good, hardworking mother. Her name was Kim Smith, and she worked for the county in Waukesha, Wisconsin. It's been over 10 years, and I still feel like a piece of shit. I feel so bad for her son, Jackson. He was 3 years old at the time, the same age as my younger daughter. So now he lost his mother because I killed her. The whole Smith family lost a good, kind mother, daughter, sister, and more, because I wasn't thinking clearly. Man, it's so sad, and I don't care who reads this, but I feel so bad for doing that. You see on TV and in movies about hitmen. Well, that's one thing. It's just TV, and any real man would feel the same as I do. But we put on this tough guy role in here, and trust me, if I could take it back, I would. Not because I got caught, just because killing Kim Smith was not right. She should be with her son right now, and I should be with my daughters. I can't fix the past, and it's hard for me to understand how I should live with this. You can't forget, you can't move on, you can only live in the past forever if you ever do evil shit like I did. Prison is nothing compared to the past I have to deal with in my mind. Some guys in here might not care what they have done to others, but I do. And I just want to somehow make things a little better for others in their lives. I'm not that person any longer, nor do I want to be. I just want to be a peaceful man and to try to make my kids understand that I'm not the monster the media made me out to be. I have a grandson now, and I have not seen him, nor do I think my daughter is going to let me. I know she is hurt by my actions, and I can't fix it. I can only do the right things from here on out. I'm not a hitman or a cop killer or anything. Just a sad man wishing things could be different for everybody. Just older now, wishing to do better for my kids.